let's start this off by stating we're going to be taking a look at the most recent developer live stream of Blue Protocol. Now, this was done on the official Blue Protocol channel, but since the entire thing is in Japanese, I felt like it was important here to have an understanding of what was going on. So there is another YouTuber out there. His name is EtherSong. He actually does live translations of this game, of the live streams of the game. And I just want to give this guy a shout out, because if you're watching the Blue Protocol topic, then you should definitely be subscribed to him, because he does these live translations, like literally he did this 8 hours ago as they were streaming this at the time. Now, from what I've gathered, there is new gameplay footage of the game. They've overhauled the combat. They have released a bunch of new screenshots and everything, but most importantly, they also introduced a brand new 5th class into the game. So we're gonna take a look at all of this live, and we're gonna listen to his translation of it, which is not an official translation, mind you, but it is as close as an official translation as we can get. So before we go any further, if you have not already subscribed to this channel, I urge you to go on down and click that subscribe button. Not only will it keep you up to date with all of our videos, but it goes on to show how much you care about us. Plus, I mean, you know, it'll help keep you updated with anything and everything related to Blue Protocol. So yeah, go on, show it some love. This stream was from earlier today, actually. These are the 3 of the developers for the game. I love their shirt.
Seems like just the usual introduction.
Hey Kyle. Hey everyone, how are you all doing?
The progress of the development in this stream today.
Thank you, Hi, for the 12-month. Oh, that's an entire year. Thank you. So this guy's that guy was the
good evening,
the director of development. I wish I had like little subtitles down there that like told you who each of them were.
Stop the development. We're still developing.
Okay, so the game is still in active development.
Joke.
Which is important.
It's been 7 months since the last stream.
It has been 7 months since the last stream. Wow. Are you serious? That is crazy.
We have a little space between each of our presenters.
Due to COVID, they have the space between. That's actually great. Good job, guys. Good job. See if we can skip through to the. Okay, looks like they're starting here.
All right, let's begin.
This is a gorgeous game. I've played it. So has MRSSSTIX. Gorgeous game.
So Bandai Namco Online and Bandai Namco Studio is producing this online action.
That right there, the fact that you can have bunny girls like that, gonna appeal to a lot of people, a lot of you specifically right now.
It's been about 1 year since the beta.
Wow, it's been an entire year. Oh, right. Yeah, we played it at the beginning of 2020, didn't we?
So about the current progress of the development. The overall progress, feedback from the CBT, gestures, an ally NPC, so Feste, I guess that's a new one, they had Jake before, and a new class, the Heavy Smasher.
Well, there we go. The name of the new class is the Heavy Smasher.
Smasher. Heavy Smasher. I think it's Smasher. Maybe a hammer or something.
That's interesting.
Probably gonna go through each of these individually from here.
This is gonna be a free-to-play MMO.
And they also had the matching stress test in between there.
So they've been holding stress tests, and things are looking well.
Participating in the matching stress test.
It's good that they make alterations to their game based stuff of the feedback that they receive.
I think finished the main part of the changes they made from the CBT. So they're going to talk about some of that.
They've been working on altering the game for quite a while now. Oh, it is warm in this room.
With an internal testing, things can change, and also it's an online game, so things can change as it progresses. So it's not just like a normal game where you have like you debug it and then release it. It's kind of ongoing progress. So this is new.
So there are going to be ongoing alterations made to the game. I mean, that's standard for any type of online game or MMO. Here's some new screenshots for the game. Giant mech monsters, other humanoid NPCs using guns.
They're spending time on, I guess, both the development and debugging, and also adjustments for the game.
We're also seeing new areas too, as you guys can see.
Okay, so they're not going to be announcing the schedule.
So
today.
no schedule. Oh, they have a
It's kind of
schedule,
like a side.
but they just don't want to
the
reveal
live
the
stream.
schedule right now.
They don't want to get anybody's hopes too high up, I guess.
So they do have a schedule, guys. An actual schedule for the game, for their development of the game and for the release of the game. And it sounds like they're sticking to it, that it's moving along as they wanted.
I think he's talking about like last time he let something slip, probably the new class or something. So he's gonna try to avoid slipping up on information this time. Talk about the CBT feedback.
Okay, so they're gonna address the feedback for the closed beta now. I guess what they're altering.
About increasing character creation parts.
So they're gonna add additional character customization options into the game.
Add diversity to character creation.
I thought the character customization was great as it was.
So they're responding to them. They're increasing some of the things for character creation, increasing some of the voices,
So increasing the amount of voices you can choose between.
and adding some different variations to character creation.
They mentioned that they were looking into doing this as well a few months ago.
They also have like kind of like a beauty salon
And there's an in-game beauty salon, yeah, that allows
area,
for you
so
to
kind of go back and
alter
readjust
what you
your
look
character.
like at
Yeah,
any
also
point in the
certain
game,
things
kind of
are only
like
available
in
there.
Final Fantasy 14 and in WoW.
So for this one, it's some of the feedback. Let me stop for a moment. This last one. This is them wanting to increase, I guess, clothing and accessories, and
Some
also
more-
have a preview option.
More outfit options. Wanting to provide additional outfits for the game. Not only outfits, but character customization options.
So they already
voices.
added a preview option for clothing, and they're continuing on creation with clothing and accessories. People want underwear. They said they added it.
It really is. Shout out to Ether
Oh,
for
they
this.
can't show you.
Does great work for Blue Protocol content.
Lock on camera is a little bit difficult to see. Makes one kind of woozy, like the
So
camera motion
they're altering the lock on cam. Okay, before we go any further, Blue Protocol has a complete action combat system where it requires you to actively aim every ability, but they also have a soft lock on for people that suck at that combat type, and that is especially important for archers, for casters, because it allows for certain abilities of yours to actually shoot in an accurate way. But prediction is still going to be very important because the abilities don't automatically like auto path to the target. It just makes it easier to hit.
So they're looking at adjusting the camera
So they're adjusting
to improve it a little better.
the mode, the camera mode for the game.
So these are some more of the feedback from CBT. People wanted to be able to have multiple settings, I guess, for adjusting effects on the screen.
I mean, I don't feel like that's important
And
for
people
me.
only want to be able to see effects that
necessarily.
are important to them.
You can turn on or off special
Other
effects.
people also didn't want to see effects from other players,
These are pretty basic settings that you encounter in games.
but they want to be able to see like healing effects and things that are important to them.
So basically just allowing for you to turn on spell effects and abilities for other players or turn them on or off for you as well.
So they're adding more options for effect display settings. Another one of the feedback points from the CBT. People were saying that they wanted so when you press the directional keys, I think multiple times you do a dodge, but they wanted a time setting for, I guess, how quickly perhaps you need
Time?
to press it to do the dodge, so you can adjust it.
So does that mean like if you double click A within a half a second of one another, you can set it to dodge, but if you double tap it within a third of a second you don't dodge. Is that what that means?
Okay, so this was, they're talking about the deer problem where people at the raid portal would be knocked off the cliff from wild enemies.
Oh, so, okay, hold on. So for those of you that weren't there during when we actually streamed Blue Protocol, you could do things like this. I'll mute this so you don't have to hear me talking over myself. But there were instances where you could pull a monster to another player and have it aggro on them like this. Kill it. Damn it. So what I did here was, and I didn't mean to do this at first, was that I pulled an enemy. And
oh yeah,
there was a guy that was actually AFK.
Oh, why did he come back and hit me?
Over there, you can see,
hey, you know what?
on the cliff.
I wonder, can you aggro monsters onto other people?
That's
And
what
then
I
this
tried to do.
happened.
I tried to hide behind someone and it still came up.
Okay, so maybe it was a little on purpose.
Such a jerk!
So, you know, that is what they're saying people were doing in essence. So
Close to the areas, everyone's waiting to go into the raid, and a wild enemy would appear, charging at them and knock people off the cliff.
it is the first time that has ever happened, and that was definitely an accident at the time. So they moved the location of the
For
raid
the
entrance
CBT, but they're also going to be careful about having enemies too close to raid portal areas.
because while people are AFK waiting for the raid to pop, people are having monsters come in and murder them.
People wanted, I guess, more customization to skill builds. There wasn't, they said it was a little weak for freedom of making a skill build. And also,
Builds weren't bad. I don't think
a
so.
lot of skills that are similar to each other.
Yeah, that was true. There wasn't
or
much
don't
class
really
diversity.
have much of a purpose. I guess they just felt like a little weak. And also things to do around, I guess, skills are a little weak as well. You just kind of acquire them and then that's it.
That feels normal to me though.
So they're adding different things to make, I guess, classes and skills more interesting. They have like the leap attack, the dodging attack, the bonus from attacking from an elevation, perfect dodges.
They
and
did.
more
They
diversity
announced
for
all of
skill
these
builds
features
and
were coming to the
additional
game on their
skills
Twitter.
being added.
So they're looking to expand on all of the
So
combat
two things
mechanics.
they hadn't talked about before are this like elevation bonus and perfect dodges.
You know, I wish they'd show the footage of those in the game. We're actually getting out to the new gameplay footage though in the next minute. It's
So
the best
by doing like a
FPS.
perfect dodge, your dodge attack power I think increases.
Wait, did he say that the elevation affects the damage
so for
done?
example, like I guess the Aegis fighter could like down an enemy by using like the perfect dodge attack, and also the Spellcaster could have a larger range, larger area attack by doing it. So it gives, I guess, a power up, perhaps based on the class. Right. So there's also the elevation bonus, where you deal more damage when you have higher elevation enemy.
So this is going to affect melee more than it is going to affect the casters or the blast archer. So your elevation will affect your damage, meaning that if, as an example here, as the twin striker or the Aegis fighter, if you launch yourself from a higher point and you come crashing down onto the enemy, it'll deal more damage to the enemy than if you were on level footed with them to begin with. So if you're planning to assault a boss, or if you're planning to initiate an encounter and there is the ability to obtain higher ground, then it is going to be the preferable choice. But again, for something like the blast archer or the Oh man, I forget the mage's name. The mage, whatever. Neither of them are going to have any benefit theoretically from the terrain difference. Here's new gameplay featuring the new combat mechanics, I'm assuming.
We just saw the knockdown. That was like the perfect dodge.
So they're adding new CC into the game. They're speeding up the animations and the effects. And you can see that there was the
taunt enemies, it looks like.
You can see the effects, the like bind. All of this is in English, by the way. You know, I'm just saying. This looks really good for just the tank, right?
Allies by taunting enemies or binding them, and also doing like perfect dodges and like knocking them down and whatnot.
So the tank can taunt. He has a lot of crowd control abilities. He can knock down, he can bind. This looks really cool. I never played it. I never played either of the melee during the beta test. Now I feel like this would be a lot better for people. Like this would appeal to a much larger audience. This class in specific, if they had swords that he could dual wield as opposed to axes.
So this build is a drain build, so you can drain, I guess, health from the enemy. So you can use your super armor to just keep attacking. You don't need to dodge with this build.
So they're actually displaying individual builds here. Since they're adding in the ability to
Archer.
have a larger customization over your builds.
Oh, you can make a debuff field.
When I played the Archer, we also had a heal field that we could throw down around us.
So there's a few new skills we can see.
But see, all of the abilities for your character
put poison on them,
require aim. Because they are missable, like entirely missable.
They increase. This is kind of like a support build.
Oh, we go to sleep. See, here's
Healing, sleep.
Here's the regen they put
quicker
down on the
attacks.
ground. So as the blast archer, you can be
So you
the
can kind of
DPS,
change
but
to,
also
like,
kind of
debuff
a
build
bit of
or,
a support.
like kind of build.
And this is what I want to be when the game launches. The Spellcaster. Because the magic just looks so good. And the fact you have to
This
aim
is
your
a
magic as
fire
well.
Specialized spellcaster.
Oh, fire specialization, which means that there are different elemental affinities for your individual, for the individual class itself. So this is fire, which means there's going to be water, maybe wind and earth. Maybe providing
So the
different
enemies have certain weaknesses, so you could maybe make a
different
specialized
benefits,
build based
maybe?
on the enemy's weaknesses.
Like earth might give you defense buffs, or wind might give you things like crit buffs or stuff like that.
So you can now kind of like make a spellcaster specialized like on a certain type of, I guess, element if you wanted to.
It looks like they will have crafting, like life skills in game, definitely.
So you can have more choices to the builds, also stuff from them. So you're saying like up like before in the CBT you kind of had a set skills, so you only could choose between like 2 different skills
That's true, you did.
for the builds, but now you can choose, for
You're
example,
very
you could have,
limited.
like, all fire skills, or you could have all 2 fire and like a electricity skill. You could have all buffs if you wanted to, or go
So you could
all
go a
debuffs.
complete
You have a lot more
support build
choice
as
to
a mage if you
types
wanted to,
of builds you're making.
providing literally a pure support build with nothing but beneficial buffs to your party. Or you can go pure glass cannon DPS mage, which, I mean, you know, that sounds great to me.
There's also, in the previous video, there's various new skills appearing in there that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, there was a lot of there was a lot of abilities that I did not see during the closed beta.
And I also been adjusting like smaller things, like how the Aegis fighter moves with the shield and things like that. So he was also just talking about how before, like if you were jumping up, you could only do like kind of like a basic attack after that, but now you could kind of lead into like different combos and things like that.
Especially
You have a little bit more options.
Especially since
while you're
elevation
doing
is now a
certain
thing.
action, like I guess a dodge. Now you can also do like dodge attacks and whatnot, and also elevation or like leap attacks and things like
Yep.
that.
Okay, we're getting back into more of the feedback now. Then I'm assuming
This is another one of the feedback points. So all the battles feel the same and monotonous.
He sounded genuinely confused by that one. So all of the fights, the encounters feel the same. I did agree, that was one of the issues I had with Blue Protocol during the beta.
So I guess adding some more variation to the party versus party, enemy, I guess, party combinations perhaps, and also enemy actions, and also I think some...
Yeah, because before we go on, when we played, the monsters would essentially just kind of smack you. There wasn't really much variation to what the individual monsters did. You'd encounter 3, 5, 8 of those little furry goblin guys, or like 2 or 3 boars, and they'd essentially just like run at you, turn around, run at you, turn around again, and just run at you. And that's essentially all that happened. So there wasn't much variation to the mechanics for each encounter, and it looks like they're trying to expand on that a little bit. Maybe add in additional ability usage from the enemies, or just make them react a little differently.
Changes to dungeons and things like that. But also the CBT was also in a confined area. We kind of had like only a certain amount of area that you could go to, so...
That was true, we only
As a
had 2 different
game,
regions.
The game will be bigger than that, so there's going to be more areas and more variations.
They revealed a 3rd region
in that
already, the desert
regard
one.
as well.
I'm assuming there's going to be even more than that. And we were kind of like,
So, like
restricted
more
to the
volume
level
game
20 area at max.
when it comes out. So people want to be able to register equipment for classes, since you can change classes freely in the game.
Yeah, you can actually change your class at any point. Each class has their own unique level associated with that class. So if I play the Spellcaster and I hit level 30, and then I want to change my class to the Aegis Fighter, I just go to the Aegis Fighter class trader, and I can change my class there. That will allow for me to play that class, get gear for that class, and level that class completely separately from my main. And you can level all of the classes pretty much like in Final Fantasy XIV. And they're looking to implement a class gear system. So when you alter your class at any point, you can just like click the gear set, and then essentially you'll be wearing the gear that is applicable to the class that you are now playing.
Want to be able to register equipment for each class. You want to...
I do too, Titan. Yeah,
Oh,
speed
so when you
Larry,
make
just
the
like Final
class
Fantasy XIV.
change the previous, I guess, equipment that you had set or registered, they want to switch to that immediately. So I guess it automatically switches to the set you have registered for that class.
Which is useful.
And also, people were complaining about having to reset the Imagine when changing classes.
Yeah, I hope they touch on the Imagine system a little bit more in this, because it's still very vague, like what specifically you can do with it other than it being used for crafting and
So
gear
they're
and stuff
adding
like that.
equipment sets and the ability to switch between them. There could be like problem areas, like if you go into the dungeon, they don't want you being able to switch, I guess, freely while like in the middle of a battle, but I guess there'll be locations where you'll be able to switch your sets.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, could you guys just imagine here going into like a boss encounter and being like, oh no, our healer died. So then you could just be like, that's no problem. I got a max level healer. Let me just swap right now. So you swap to the healer, you res the healer, and then you're like, okay, let's continue. So it makes sense that they have like designated areas that you can swap to the other classes.
Like, I guess you can imagine it kind of being able to have your equipment, your Imagine, and then skills kind of like all being able to be saved. It's the next feedback point. People are saying they want to be able to check other classes' skill boards, I guess the skill trees, without changing classes. And also, they want to be able to acquire other class skills without having to change classes.
Yeah, I can understand that, but at the same time, like, you shouldn't be able to acquire the other classes unless you're playing them, because then you could, in essence, use your max level Aegis Fighter to do the low level stuff for your Spellcaster.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for the super chat.
So
Really appreciate it.
that would make it unfair for someone who's doing it on the Spellcaster that's low level.
So as regards to acquiring skills, there could be problems if you are acquiring skills for a class that don't have equipped currently. So they're going to keep the current system of having to switch to get skills for.
Good. I feel like
You only be able to get skills.
that
for
makes
a class
sense.
you have
Complete sense.
currently selected. So the first point that they will is you'll be able to see like other classes' skill trees. It looks like, but you won't be able to acquire the skills unless you switch to that class. People
Did
want
they announce a fifth
training
class?
mode,
They did.
Something like, I guess, a scarecrow or what is it, like a dummy you can like
Yeah, so they're gonna
Train
have
against.
training dummies, essentially. They'll add training dummies into the game.
there we
Oh,
go.
they got a screenshot of it too.
Don't.
Okay. I feel like most games have training dummies though, right? So
So when changing classes, people want to be able to use like a high level imagine, also be able to adjust the status based on that. So I guess imagine level syncing. So I guess the imagine will sync up with your level.
I feel like that's fair. Like in Final Fantasy XIV, your Chocobo, as an example here, that syncs to your level as well. So I feel like having your Imagine, which can be combat companions,
So they
be substantially higher in level would be unfair for anyone else that does not have that. So a new player or someone that does not have a strong or high level Imagine like you do when you're starting an additional class.
Yeah, looks like they added this feature, so I guess Imagine will kind of sync up with your class level. So when you change classes, the Imagine you have will kind of change with you. But I guess it will sync up with your level. But there's also things to do with balance and whatnot, so they're working on the
Balancing will be
Minor
a bit
parts
of
of
an
it.
issue, but I don't really think it'll be that big.
Alright, so this is one of the main feedback points from the CBT. So mount energy is too low.
That is very true. When we played it, we could only use our mount for a very brief amount of time before we ran out of stamina, and that was it. We were dismounted and couldn't use our mount anymore.
We don't need mount energy.
We really don't. You
People
should
don't
not
want
be
energy to
restricted in how long you can ride on your mount for. Now, you can impose restrictions on how long you can sprint on a mount, but not on how long you can actually ride the
decrease
mount.
while they're stopped. So in the CBT, mount energies was limited, and once the energy ran out, you couldn't use the mount anymore. So while you're, I guess, moving or even stopped, the energy would be draining.
Like I said,
And once it went away, you couldn't use the mount anymore.
that was terrible. But I'm glad they're fixing that.
They're gonna add, I guess, different ways of recovering energy aside from going back to the town. They would make it so the energy wouldn't be drained while stopped. And also looking at adding multiple mounts so you could switch between mounts.
So essentially, instead of removing the mount stamina system, they're just going to alter how the stamina system is depleted, which means your stamina will still continue to deplete as you're using your mount, and after it has depleted entirely, you will still be forcibly removed from your mount and unable to reuse that mount until you make it back to a town where your stamina replenishes, and therefore you can take your mount out again. But each mount is going to have their own individual stamina, and there will be multiple methods, perhaps items, that allow for you to go about recovering the stamina while out in the field, which I don't like the sound of, by the way.
Needed
just FYI.
resources and energy. They didn't plan to get rid of that.
Stamina for your mount is not a good idea. I really hope they come back to that and readdress it and remove it entirely.
So they, I guess, made these changes and then tested it internally.
It does sound like a bad idea. It does. I don't like stamina
But
for
after
riding.
testing it, they decided to kind of change their stance on this system.
Oh, they've changed their stance on it to what? Oh, the unconfirmed.
So I guess the feedback point, mount energy is too low. We don't need mount energy. So is that what they're gonna do?
They should entirely remove mount energy from the game.
I guess the slide had an issue. We went back a page. Oh no! So we're waiting for the page to reveal what they did.
Although do know that this is for the beta. Like, this is not set in
Technical
stone.
difficulties currently.
So there's plenty of time here for them to
gonna-
resolve these issues, especially if they receive enough feedback on it.
So they're gonna make it so you can keep riding it even without energy.
Oh, well, there we go. They're going to make it so you can continue riding even if you run out of energy. Now, I don't know if that means that you'll be able to ride at the same speed, though, or if after running out of energy entirely, you're going to run at a reduced rate. I think that needs a little expanding on.
And
So
it'll still be faster than normal player movement.
there you go. You're going to be faster. Just once you run out of stamina, you'll run slower, but still faster than if you were unmounted. So that's okay. That still sounds okay to me.
So in the CBT, when energy ran out, yeah, the mount would disappear.
Yeah. So kind of like Black Desert's mount system. Yeah, that doesn't sound bad. It did sound bad, but it does not anymore.
Okay. is this is another feedback point about the dungeons. So people were just kind of rushing through the dungeons in the CBT.
They were.
Well, and also the second point. So the first point is people would rush through the dungeons. And then the second point is that the mob enemies or the weaker enemies didn't really have a point because you just ignored everything while rushing through the dungeons.
That's because the AI needed improvement. But like shield enemies would get in the way of caster enemies to prevent them from taking damage. So that was a mechanic I never experienced before in an MMO. So there are unique mechanics that the monsters do employ. It's just that for the most part, they were kind of just trash mobs that you would bypass because they weren't very threatening.
So one thing they're testing out is if you ignore the enemies, they'll follow you into the battle areas. So I guess if you keep ignoring them, you'll have a big group of enemies in like certain areas. That you'll have to
so
fight.
before they would de-aggro
So you
once
might
you
wanna fight them
ran
along
far
the way
enough
so that
from the
doesn't happen.
enemies, but they're making it so if you lure all the enemies, they're going to keep piling up until they completely overwhelm
But
you.
they're still kind of doing internal testing with this to find what's best.
So you're not going to be able to just like run through and skip everything, which is
They
how
are paying
dungeons
attention
generally
to the
function, which is important.
Also for classes that have area of effect attacks, it's quite fun to be able to blast a bunch of enemies at once.
It is. That is what I love about playing mage. Typically we have a lot of AoEs and a lot of ways of nuking mass amounts of enemies, groups of enemies.
But it also another problem is that there's the difficulty that all the enemies would kind of follow after you. So you have them a big group of enemies and causing difficulties. I guess it would raise the difficulty of dungeons.
That's not a bad thing though.
But people wanted that option to turn off weapons inside the town.
Oh yeah, to
they
disable the
had this-
visual display of weapons within the town. I mean, I really don't think that's necessarily
So they added options. where you can,
entirely worth devoting time to.
I guess
but
turn it on or off, or turn it off inside the town, and things like that. So they added different options for visibility. That was like heavy load. So I guess there's a number of people, so it was causing stress on people's computers. And also,
there really shouldn't have been that much stress on people's computers because the towns had a maximum concurrent occupancy of what, like 100, 200 players total per channel. And outside of the town had 25, 35 players during the beta test. So realistically, it shouldn't have had much of an effect, much of a negative effect on people's computers, really. We experienced none. Our optimization was fine.
and also the loading time for it was long. So these were some of the feedback points.
I mean, the loading time wasn't really an issue. It was maybe 10 seconds if
But they
that.
added an option to choose how many players are displayed.
But I know people are impatient these days, so a 10-second loading screen when going through an instance is a big deal for them. We're getting closer to
People
the
wanted
new
to be able
class
to
reveal.
change the minimap size.
The minimap size, I don't really... that didn't seem like an issue that needed addressing to me.
They added they added a feature where the minimap size will increase while you're in battle, so you can look at the minimap just to check where enemies and whatnot are.
Why? Why do you need the minimap to expand when in battle? To see where other enemies are? Why not just like visually observe?
To be able to see like where enemies are a little bit easier in battle.
That makes no sense. Just look around. That's why we have eyes for, right?
People saying that they want a minimap inside the dungeons.
A minimap inside the dungeon. That is very important. I get lost without a map in a dungeon or a raid, guys. I need a map to tell me where to go. I don't know if you guys
So
are
they
like this or
added a
not too,
minimap to the dungeon.
but I find it very confusing without one.
So there's no getting lost now that you have a minimap.
Wait, do we not have phones?
Also, there's an issue with party. Well, even though you were in a party, when you switch zones, you didn't match up in this. You didn't go to the same zone as your party member.
Oh, so they're fixing that. So here is an issue that MRSSTIX and I, along with everyone else that played New Genesis, had. So there is a sharding feature in New Genesis. There's a sharding feature in a lot of MMOs. Now, what happens is when you form a group and you leave a town or go through any type of loading screen, you're put on an individual shard. That shard can hold a maximum number of players. Now in New Genesis, I would, as an example here, go through first. And there was the potential for the shard to hit a maximum number of players on it. And if you were grouped up with your team and the shard hit that maximum limit, players would be thrown onto another shard, and therefore you would occupy the same physical space, but you would be unable to interact or engage or participate in anything the other people are doing in your group, because the shards had a limit and they did not make certain that there were enough spots open on that shard for your entire group prior to going into that area. Now, it looks like Blue Protocol is also going to have that sharding limitation in place, but I'm curious to see how they go about handling that.
And also you'd be, I guess, go to different channels as your party as well. So I guess you're playing together, but you would end up in different areas, I guess, the same zone, but different channels of that zone.
Yep.
So you wouldn't be able to see your party members.
And are they going to fix that though? Is that a remedy they are attempting are they attempting to remedy that? I mean,
Or zones now, they secure the number of slots for your party member for a set amount of time so that party members can join you.
well, there you go. That right there, they are already leaps and bounds ahead of PSO2 New Genesis. They are going to have a feature where there are a certain number of slots that are set aside for all of the members of your group for a limited time. So if I go out with a group of 5 people and I am going through a loading screen here, and the shard that I am accessing has 23 out of 25 people in it, then it will not send me to that one. It will find another version of that instance and send me to that one that has 5 slots open, so does not have over 20 people currently in it. And that is what New Genesis needs to do, because that was atrocious. Yeah, boss, exactly. Already better than New Genesis.
But since it's an online game and there's a constant fluctuation in the number of players in like different zones, players inside of a party could be separated into different areas, and they can't always secure slots for all your party members in that zone all the time.
That makes sense, because if, for example, you're going through with a party of 5 people and you go through 8 minutes before, one of your other teammates, they might only hold the slot for 5 minutes. So you might be 3 minutes over, and then that person might end up in another instance of another shard of the same instance because they didn't get through in time. And that makes perfect sense. Like, they shouldn't hold those spaces indefinitely.
But when party members all want to meet up at a certain spot, it doesn't feel well when you're playing like that and you go to an area and then you can't meet up with your party members.
Mm-hmm.
So in a certain amount of time after switching to a zone, your party members will be able to join you without an issue. But so after that certain amount of time has passed, you could end up in different channels as your party members. If something like that happens, you can have your party leader use a feature to group up everyone in the same channel.
Well, there you go. Even if, for instance, you get separated and are unable to join one another's live version of the shard that you are on, the party leader just has to go into a separate option and sync the party, and then everyone will get sent to an entirely new instance. So that is, it's kind of the equivalent of what you can do in Guild Wars 2, where once the map has declined down to a certain number of active players, it tells you that you can move to a more populated version of the zone that you're in. And then you all just click accept, confirm, yes, whatever the option is, and then you all move to that other version of the zone. And essentially that's what the party leader will be able to do to make sure to sync everyone up. Wait, real quick. Did some guy literally just say, I will unsub to his YouTube because he can't answer a simple question? I mean, dude, hey, go for it. It's your life. You live it however you want.
So people wanted to be able to display more quests at once, and it was difficult to see the progress of quests. And they also want to be able to display the progress of multiple quests at once.
So, active quest tracking.
So, well, for UI in general, after it's made, there will be adjustments
Yeah, naturally.
Well, adjustments will be needed for various things, so these are still being looked at and worked on.
But you're never gonna appease everybody though. Like, I mean, there are people that think the UI for Swords of Legends is ugly, and there are people that think New Genesis's UI is ugly. Like,
So they just increase the number of quests that can be displayed.
I do dislike being locked into like 2 or 3 quests only, like in Revelation Online. I really dislike how little you can see over there.
So with internal testing, there was a feedback that we needed more to line it up with one's cursor, and buttons are separated and far away, so there was a lot of moving around.
I don't think it was too small. I thought the UI was okay.
Okay, so what we had up until now, we had different shortcut options, where you could press like the M key or M to open a map, or I to open up inventory. But what the
Wait, I to open inventory? Who here uses I to open inventory? Guys, oh, okay. No, wait. Who here uses I to open inventory? I always use B. Like, B is open inventory. B is for bag, right?
I use I.
Mrs. Stix apparently uses I to open inventory. Guys, in the chat right now, do you type I or do you type B? And since this VOD is also going to be uploaded to YouTube, guys on YouTube, in the chat, in the comment section right now, B or I for inventory or bag. Let me know. I'm genuinely curious. What? They don't matter.
Yes, they do.
It's B only. You guys don't matter.
adding is a
If you type anything other than B, you're gonna be muted. I'm literally about to restrict the usage of just the word I.
mark button option. So like with inside of a menu, you could add bookmarks to a certain areas within that. So you could jump, once you're inside of a certain menu, you could jump to another thing more quickly. People are saying that they want to be able to talk, or I guess chat. It seems like it was quite divided among people that wanted to be able to chat or talk to others during the mission, and also those who didn't want that.
I mean, when I try chatting in game anymore, people are just like, do you use Discord? Like, we have an in-game chat, use it.
So if you group up with a party beforehand and then go into a mission, you'll be able to chat with them.
Good, because I prefer to chat in-game when I'm playing a game.
About the bag and item stacks with inside the bag. So after the CBT, these were the points that they made about the bag. They were looking at increasing the size of the bag while starting out.
So the size of your bag, your max inventory size, okay.
Or adjusting the size of the bag at the beginning. And also there would be an option to increase the size of the bag through gameplay.
Well, that's good, because I hate having to be forced to purchase cash shop items to expand your inventory.
So I guess you could be able to expand your bag. And also in the field area, you'd be able to send appraised items back to your storage.
Useful.
Looking at it, I guess a ability to, or an option to be able to do that.
Okay.
So this was the feedback they made before. So they tried it out and tested it. They still felt that it caused a little bit of stress and it was still inconvenient.
I don't see why or how.
So they also changed their stance on this as well. So they looking at making it a little bit more convenient.
They should have an in-game chatting function.
So they're looking at it so I guess what was happening before is your material bag would get filled up and you would have to go back to town.
So you have your normal inventory, and then you have a material bag as well that you can deposit materials into when farming.
Making it so that doesn't occur anymore.
And it's worth noting that in this game, to obtain gear, you need to craft, which means that you need this crafting bag and all of the materials within it, and they are very integral in terms of how you go about progressing through the game in terms of obtaining gear. So, putting this in game as a friend, you would voice
They're
chat.
gonna make, I guess, your material bag nearly infinite in size.
That's good. A material bag should be infinite in size.
There's gonna be no stress about that anymore.
Good, because you need those materials to do pretty much everything in the game. Imposing a limit on how much you can acquire like that is
You won't be
ridiculous.
kind of forced back to go back to town because your bag keeps filling up.
Now your normal bag, that's normal, but not your crafting material bag. I can see people wanting the option of verifying whether they can or cannot craft something, like while out in the field.
So they added a wish list option where you could register things you want to craft, and you'll be able to check what materials and whatnot will be needed to make that items and I guess equipment and imagines and things.
It is good, yeah.
So like if you register something to the wish list, you can see which materials you have been gathering, and once everything fills up, it'll like, I guess, shine and notify you that you've got everything you needed.
So it's a way of actively tracking what's required to craft the imagine or the gear you're looking for. So you can just keep mindlessly farming until your thing lights up and tells you that you're good to go craft it back in the town.
The bag's infinite. I don't know what he's doing with his eyes. I guess it's infinite.
Well, the icon, that's an infinite icon, right? So I'm assuming that's what he was doing signified. Not oval enough.
So there was issues where the crafting machine or quest NPCs would be covered up by other players and you weren't able to select them. And
Yeah.
also, I guess teleportation portals would also be covered up by like party members and you weren't able to select them.
People did that all the time in WoW.
They changed priority between objects and players.
So if there's an NPC in there, clicking them takes priority over clicking the player. Okay, that's useful.
Well, they changed the priority, but it'll cause another issue where if object and players are together, then you'll prioritize the object over the player. So if you were trying to select the player, it could cause issues.
Or just ask them to move like 2 steps to the left.
Next up is, I guess, emotes or something, like linked gestures, shared gestures.
Emotes, huh? Oh, shared emotes. So like ones you can use with
Shared emotes.
other people. Like hugging or picking up or...
Maybe like dancing together, kind of something similar like that.
I know back in the closed beta, if you started dancing with other people, you would all start dancing in unison and do this big group dance. That was really cool.
So emotes and whatnot were in the game up until now, and so you could make emotes with your character. But I guess while people were playing, a lot of people had fun, like lining up and dancing together and things like that. And
It's exactly
also
what I just said.
development staff also were having fun with things like that. So
That was really
they're
cool.
looking at, I guess, adding these shared emote options. Oh, so you can do like rock, paper, scissors with other players.
Oh, that looks cool. The outfits look really good.
So if one player starts the rock, paper, scissors gesture, they go into a rock, paper, scissors idle motion. So they're waiting for another player to come.
Do you actually get to legitimately choose which option between the 3 you want, though?
So you can go up to a player like that, and you can choose what you want to select, like rock, paper, or scissors.
Oh, there you go. You can individually choose your option and have genuine rock, paper, scissors duels with
Yeah,
people.
so after both players choose rock, paper, scissors, then you can do rock, paper, scissors with the player, and then it'll show like us who won or lost like this.
It will. That is really cool. It's the small things that make games cool, that make things good, that really help a game stand out from its competitors.
So I guess when you normally do rock, paper, scissors like in the game, because of the camera angle, it can be difficult to see if you won or lost. So they're kind of showing off like what happened, the result of it with these poses here.
Launching your option up into the air, yeah.
In Astrolabe, this is how people do rock, paper, scissors.
Really? Wow. Well, I'll make sure to note that if I ever meet any of you guys in person and we ever decide to have a rock, paper, scissors duel. That is not a motion you want to be doing in a live stream. Oh boy. You love when they put small things into games, it leaves a nice impression. Yeah.
So originally when they were developing, they're like, what are you gonna do with rock, paper, scissors? Well, it's rock, paper, scissors, so there's bound to be a use, right?
You can hold hands. Seriously, we're gonna get in game and within 30 seconds, this is the emote MRSSTIX is gonna do to me. She's looking at me, she's like, yeah.
So this is similar
Totally.
to the rock, paper, scissors, where one player will start a hand-holding gesture, and they'll be in a idle state, and if another player joins them with the gesture, they can hold hands.
So you can, that is adorable. So if you guys go like AFK in an area, you can AFK just like holding one another.
So as you can see like in this screenshot as well, there is differences in height between characters, but even with that, you'll be able to hold hands
Yep.
without issue.
And they've worked on animating the difference in height very well. Oh, she looks a little tsundere, huh? Now to find your asuna. I have my asuna. She's right there. You love interactive emotes? I do think they're really cool. We need more emotes that allow for you to use them in unison with another player.
So it looks like they put quite a bit of like effort into, I guess the person that was developing this put quite a bit of effort into it. So if you move around a player, to like the other side, it'll automatically like switch hands you're holding with.
That is really cool.
So if you're like holding, I guess with like the left hand at the beginning, you could move around the other side and be holding the right hand.
So you can physically move around and they'll continue to hold your hand, and if you go too far over, they'll swap hands.
Go too far apart, your hand, I guess you'll stop the gesture, your hands will stop. But
They have put a lot of time into this. The guy that developed this feature, he really wanted to hold someone's hand in this game. That is beautiful.
so as long as you don't go too far away, it's actually possible to walk with another player holding hands.
You can walk around while actually holding their hand. As long as you guys are walking at the same time, you can walk everywhere around while holding one another's hands. How cool is that? That is genuinely really... Hold your hand? I don't even think they can see your hand.
Is that during testing, one of the people were putting out his hands and he thought he was gonna hold it, but a different person grabbed it, so he was left with his hand out with the other two players holding hands together.
Well, that's awkward, but yeah.
It was quite sad.
Can you fight while holding hands? That would be kind of cool, right?
So you can kind of mix this up with photo mode they also talked about before, to be able to take some
Yeah, they're adding
nice
a photo mode
pictures and
into the
whatnot.
game for those of you that love taking photos.
All right, so next is the NPC ally, Feste. Last time they talked about Jake that could come in through the missions with you.
allies that you can take out with you. So are they going to function kind of like how they function in World of Warcraft when you have like battle companions that come out with you
So they
out
have
into
a
the zones?
video of it.
Oh, a video of the battle companion. Oh, there she is. She's over there, over to the left.
So Feste is kind of a character that attacks from a range.
Yeah, she looks like a, what are they called? Bombardiers?
They're kind of like buff and debuffs.
Looks like she's throwing little bombs at them from a fight. This guy is getting wrecked. He needs to block more. So, thank you, Shaba, for the 6 months,
So they
man.
gave some buffs to the player right
We
now.
appreciate that. Play Final Fantasy for G posting and screenshots. Hey,
Give like there's various buffs that she can give you,
a lot of people do.
like quick interval or.
Isn't that a story character? It is, yeah. That is actually a story character. She's the very first NPC you see in the game.
I guess she keeps talking about go my servant.
Servant. Oh, that's provocative. So she's throwing. I like how it's got like the little icon of her face.
Like a can or
that-
something. I don't know.
That is really
bottom.
cute.
We're not exactly sure what's inside of it. She's throwing something.
It's easier to localize. It does.
It's got her own little mark on it.
I just now noticed that
Yeah,
the
like,
shirts
really-
they're wearing are actually the symbol on there. The icon is that girl's face.
Flash grenade or something. So the heavy smasher
The
new
heavy
class.
smasher class. Here we go.
is the last topic for today.
So for those of you that were not aware, when Blue Protocol was initially announced, they confirmed that they were not going to be working on new classes because they were working on the development of the game. Now, after the closed beta, they released a closed alpha and then a closed beta. After the closed beta, a lot of players left feedback saying that while they did enjoy the 4 classes that were available, they wanted more classes, more diversity. And the Blue Protocol development team responded with, well, we'll make sure to work on new classes in the future, but we can't make any promises. Now, fast forward later through 2020, they went on to state that they were actively developing additional classes due to player feedback, which is great to hear that the developers are not only responding to, but also working to address feedback that players have with the game. And then they went on to, earlier today, announce the Heavy Smasher class. So this is essentially for people that wanted new classes to be present in the game. This goes to show how much they're actually listening to, responding to, and working to create something that players genuinely want. Can you be a lolly? Kind of. You can get
So
pretty
this
small.
is a class that will be available with release.
Look at that weapon. What even
Heavy
is
Smasher.
that? Is that like a cannon with a ball? A cannonball? Gun mace?
So it's a class that carries this like heavy hammer. So as I guess
Hammer.
you could expect it's kind of a slow and powerful attacks and things
So
like
like
that.
a berserker class? Big dual wielding berserker class? Because that is
There's no beta currently.
an
They haven't
exceptionally
talked about
large
any new betas
weapon.
yet.
That's a hammer? I know, right? Can't see any gameplay, not yet.
Let me jump back in.
I'm pretty sure they're gonna show gameplay of it. Yeah.
It looks like it's a classic. You can also maybe slow enemies with them. It also has aspects that are kind of similar to a tank.
A tank?
So they have a video.
A tank?
Take a look.
Oh, she looks adorable using it. So it's a ranged class. She's shooting. No, wait. You can knock them back and then
It's a slow
jump
but powerful
into
attack.
them. Did she reload it just then at the top, at the tip? Wait, so is it?
You know, so like shoot bullets or something like that.
She goes in, she knocks it back, she jumps into the target, and then she also possesses the ability to shoot from the cannon, the tip of the cannon, long range. Like right here, she begins to power up, she reloads it, and then begins to charge up
The movement
a
itself
ranged
is not
ability.
slow as a class.
So
Same other classes.
it's both a close range and a long range class combined into one. A hybrid,
The
yeah.
swings and whatnot are a little bit slow, but but a lot of the attacks have super armor, so you can resist
Hey Eliza, how are you doing?
enemy attacks.
Mid-range? Yeah, it kind of feels like a mid-range. It really depends because the fact that you have one ability that you can use at range means that there's a potential for additional, because they
get
went
super
on
armor.
to state and to cover there's going to be a lot of build diversity in game. As an example here, the mage allows for you to go full DPS, shoot down meteors from the sky, light up the ground around you with giant AoEs, or you can opt to completely disregard all attacks and go a complete support build, providing nothing but beneficial buffs to your team, or buffs that, or debuffs that specifically target the enemies. So if you can drastically alter a class to that extent, then does that not also hold true to the fact that you can opt for the heavy smasher to not only be an entirely close range tank, but also potentially a long range like gunner type class as well, because we do not have a gunner present in game right now.
For an increased defense, but yeah, you'll move a little bit slower.
That is 5 total classes thus far, but they have a list of classes for the game that they're working on.
So I think it has like a cartridge, so you have like a certain number of shots. So you also need to kind of pay attention to how many, I guess, bullets or whatever they are you have left.
And then
while using
reload,
those.
yeah. So much creativity that this game is allowing players to do. It really is.
Oh, you can actually see it's like a new hairstyle, looks like.
Right. They mentioned that they're working on additional customization
There's
options
a
at the
few
beginning of the
new
stream.
Things, if you look
So-
closely at what they're showing. Like
That
the
means that
previous
they're-
screenshot as well, I think, also had some new things in it.
They're also working on additional hairstyles too, then I guess. That's a cool bracelet that he's wearing. Or is that
All
a
the new
watch?
topics for today, but they'll continue sharing things on Twitter.
They always do. They have an active Twitter. I'll give them that. It's a watch? Well, at first I thought it was just a big like strap bracelet, and then I looked at it, I'm like, wait, no, that kind of looks
So
like
I
a
guess
watch.
for a lot of things that are still under adjustment, so it's kind of difficult to show it off while it's in the middle of being changed, because like we're still working on adjusting these small aspects or like these certain aspects of different things.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's kind of hard to show it off until it's like completed.
But they've worked on a lot of things. I am very, very impressed.
But they are continuing on with development. The opening theme song, they're gonna have coming soon.
They're gonna release the opening theme song.
Talk
I wonder
about
if
it
they'll
soon.
wonder if they'll have a trailer for the to accompany the theme song and have like the full thing
The
all released at
opening
once.
Theme song that everyone's waiting for.
Release. Oh, so maybe they'll release a brand new trailer with the theme song. That'd be kind of
Gonna
cool.
Be sharing more information about that coming soon.
It's always coming soon, man.
Looks like there's opening anime as well.
An opening anime for it. Yeah, the entire thing is going to be animated. That's kind of what you expect though out of Japanese games, right? They have beautiful.
Oh, this is part of
and
the opening anime, I think.
That's a screenshot from what the anime is going to look like. Yes. That is all I have to say. Just yes. I can't wait. Cannot wait. Very hyped to see
That's
that.
about the opening theme song.
They have honestly released a lot of information in this
And
stream.
we want to give some last thoughts and I guess things about the users. feedback.
And more importantly, the next live stream and the next closed beta. They are very important. Are we gonna get a mention of either?
We would like to thank everyone for watching today. And as they talked about earlier, they're still working on development for various things. And as they were talking about today, there was various things where they, after the CBT feedback, they said, we're going to do this. They tried it out, and they had to make changes as well.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Unfortunately, you cannot appease everyone.
There's various things that you can't really tell until you actually try it out. But they don't want to just be like, well, we spent this much time on it, so we're going to give up on it. Like, well, this is good enough. They want to be able to actually make progress and make something good out of what they're doing.
They definitely should not rush the game by any means. Rushing the game will destroy it. If it doesn't release until 2023, but it releases and is an amazing game in 2023, then that will last us for years to come. If it releases in 2021 and is garbage, then no one will play it.
They're thinking of what's going to be the best for the user in development, so they don't want to stop like midway through and be like, well, this is good enough. I want to think about what will actually be best for the user, and if they're at a state that, even though they spent this much time on it, if it's still not in a state that they want to give to the users, they're going to.
That's true, Nari. Since they're self-publishing, they're developing and self-publishing, everything they do, they can take their time with. They have no restrictions, no limitations, no deadlines to meet, especially since they haven't even given like a confirmed release window yet, other than 2021 and 2022.
He said, like, well, as he was just talking about a moment ago, from I guess the stress tests and the closed beta tests, we're getting a lot of feedback from the players.
Good. Feedback is good. Positive and negative feedback are both good, both important to the growth of your game.
They want to make a fun world for the players.
Dude, we as players, as anime fans, want a fun world to explore. Like we're thirsty for something like that. A ranged tank, that might be what the heavy blaster is.
Finished development, and near completion, they'll be able to show more later at a later date.
Good. Good. I'm glad that they're not trying to rush through showing as many different things as they can.
Thanks you for watching today. And last one. So along with the CBT feedback and whatnot, they're continuing on development with other things that they've been showing. So it's taking a little bit of time to do this.
You wish more devs were as open and great like these guys? Yeah, same here, Nari.
So they're trying to make the best game for the player. So with internal testing as well, when things they test out and they find that don't work out very well or not very fun, they're looking at fixing those areas.
But at the same time, at the end of the day, you cannot satisfy everyone. There will always be people that complain. There's nothing you can do about that.
Can, match everyone's expectations.
You will not. There are going to be people that absolutely hate this game to its very core, just due to the fact that it has an anime aesthetic. There are already tons of people that just call it weeb garbage as is.
End of this stream for today. Thank you all for watching to the very end.
It's true. It is. It is.
Bye.
They're all waving like in unison with one another.
Okay,
that's
so
adorable.
We got to the end of the stream.
So that was it. That was the end. Oh, wow. We learned a lot of information today. Jeez. Man. What do you guys think after sitting through almost 2 hours of stream? Thank you, by the way, Scion Mike, for the tier 1. You're proud to be weeb trash? Dude, so am I. Now, what do you guys think after having experienced all of that? Are you guys more or less excited for it? Because they revealed, not only was there a ton of new interactive emotes that you could do cooperatively, like holding hands, like rock, paper, scissors. They revealed that there are going to be NPC companions that you can use out everywhere. They introduced the brand new heavy blaster class. They announced that they were making a lot of alterations to the core game itself. They showcased new combat mechanics. They went on and revealed that they are going to have the terrain height affect the overall damage of melee abilities. So the higher you are, the more damage you will deal when you come down and collide with the enemy. They revealed that they are going to introduce new character customization options. they revealed that they are going to allow for a lot of class diversity. So things like having an all DPS mage or a complete support mage, they're contrastingly different play styles. One is nothing but damage, the other has no damaging abilities whatsoever and is nothing but support. Like, man. Oh, the emotes are really, really cool. I genuinely like the direction that they're taking this. I like how active the Blue Protocol development team are with their community, how they're listening to the things that the community is saying, that they are taking the feedback and attempting to actually implement these features and overhaul the features that people didn't like in game. Like, just genuinely very cool. And I think Final Fantasy XIV did really well with that too. I'm not sure if it's just Japanese developers that seem to care about their fans and their potential players more than, I don't know, Chinese and South Korean developers, because like, when was the last time you saw a South Korean MMO developer give a damn about their game? Like, nothing comes to the top of my head. I can't think of a single time where South Korean developers were like, you know what, instead of prioritizing money here and getting the game out as soon as we possibly can to milk as much money in as small time frame as possible before the game dies, how about we take the time here to listen to what players want and attempt to make a game that will last long term and provide us long-term financial gain. I don't know, Japanese developers here, they seem to understand, at least. I don't know if this is gonna work out like in the grand scheme of things, but they at least seem to understand.
Someday soon I'm gonna make it. Yeah,